Guys, welcome back to the channel. The way Trevor Chalobah has been treated has been nothing short of disappointing. I think when you look at last year, when you look at one of our better players, towards the latter stages of the season, I believe that he was, alongside Thiago Silva, one of the best we had. And unfortunately for him, again, when you look at the squad that was taken to the States for the preseason training, a lot of these guys, bar maybe like your Levi Colwell's, your Reece Jameses, and I guess Ben Chilwell and, a Champon, all these other guys were kind of bought, they were bought into the team. So I believe that's kind of why they're going to take a much bigger role in the team. And unfortunately, he's one of those guys who's going to be straight profit on the books, and it's, again, we're not surprised because this is what has been happening over the last year or two. So I just think when just comparing him to like Disasi last year, right? I just think he's just a better defender, in my opinion, at least. I think Chalobah and Disasi are like on the opposite spectrums. Chalobah's quicker, he reads the game better. He's more, I think it's more adaptable. He's someone who can cover you if you wanted to play, the right back position, because Disasi last year when Pochettino played him on the right was a disaster. Let's just be honest with that, right? And Chalobah will give you a much better output in terms of like just performances, being solid. And unfortunately, he's just one of those guys who's kind of fit in the criteria of just pure profit on the books, and they're just going to sell him, so. But him not being taken to the States even for preseason, I mean, he was like one of the first guys who was back for, preseason, putting in the work, training, and just to be essentially ousted like this is kind of disgusting, Like when you look at the team that they took to the States, I'm just going to bring this up really quickly, but I think it's disappointing. You look at, so let's go with the goalkeepers. Petrovic was mentioned as someone who had a little bit of an injury, so he wasn't taken. But even he is looking like someone who's going to be sold during the season. Why? I don't know. He was so much better. He was a lot better than Sanchez when Sanchez came into the team. I mean, we could all remember the game against Arsenal where we were leading 2-0. We were comfortably winning this game. And what does Sanchez do? He throws that game away, and when Petro came into the team, it just felt like we had the stability we needed. Everything was just a lot more, just safer, more secure. But of course, he's the one who's going to be sold. Again, they paid little to no money for him. So it's looking like they're probably going to try just to, recoup that money. But let's just look at the defenders in particular for me. Wesley Fofana, Viega, Levi Colwell, Disasi, Tosin, Champon, Badiashile, James, Gusto, and Ben Chilwell. Now, Cucurella is still on vacation, so he probably wouldn't join the team till like a later time. But if you look into this team, the one person you could say, okay, could have missed out for Chalobah would have been a Champion, But again, they're trying to take a good look at Achampon during, preseason, potentially maybe to get him training with the first team, get him a loan move, or just develop him to be sold, right? And it's just unfortunate for Trevor that the Sassi, Badia, Sheila, these guys were bought. These are investments. They paid over 30 million for both of these guys. You look at someone like Wesley Fofana, we paid, close to like 70 million for this guy. So him being fully fit, I think it's just, them trying to get back the value that they put into these guys. Chalobah came through the academy. He didn't cost a penny. So even if they moved him on, that's just pure profit on the books. That's just money into the team, and that's it. And, I think so. Desasi for me was someone that got a lot of slack last year, only because people called him a disaster. I think he had a pretty solid season. On a scale of 1 to 10, I probably would have gave Desasi a 6, and that's above average for me. He was available for majority of the games. I know people like to go on about availability is the best ability. Well, if that's the case, then he was available for like 35, 34 games out of the season. He was consistent. He was constant. So if we're just going to go by that logic, then wouldn't he be someone you would actually probably put some more respect on? I personally just think ability is just the best ability. If you're good, you're good. If you're shit, you're shit. So I think he was someone who, again, he had his moments. One of the best performances from him was that Man City game at the Etihad where we drew 1-1. And Levi Colwell had a solid game. They were fantastic, and he's had his moments. He's had his lapses, but it just feels like because money was spent on him, he's going to be getting the preference of that. Again, Fofana, we already know how much, they paid for him. He missed all of last year, but it's just unfortunate that Chalobah is just going through this. But I think like he's one of those guys a lot of teams should be in for. His price has been quoted from like between 20 million to like 30 mil, right? I think 25 average. I think that is a steal. Because when you look at how much Everton are trying to sell Braithwaite for, how much Bayern Munich are asking for De Ligt, and then you look at someone like Chalobah, who's played at the highest level for at least 3 years. He had his breakthrough season under Tuchel. He played a lot of games. He played, the right center back role. He played, right back sometimes. I mean, you got the defensive, him being versatile. Like he's versatile. You can use him in different roles. He could probably play left center back. He could play as a wing back, not necessarily his position. And he could also play in midfield. So I think for that amount, I think you're getting someone who's going to be an overall kind of like a solid, investment into your team. And I think that the likes of like Liverpool, again, I don't know if he's someone they'll look at, but the likes of Liverpool, Man United, even Arsenal to an extent, because the defenders you only have really are Saliba and Gabriel. If you have someone like, Chalobah on your bench, at least, you can rest some of these guys and the quality will still not be as bad, so I think it's unfortunate that he's someone who has been treated like this. But again, the midfielders, Drewsby Hall, Santos, and Santos is also actually going on loan anyway. Why? I'm not sure. Because if you look at this list, but besides, say, your Caicedos and your Enzo Fernandez coming back, again, with playing the Conference League, I think there should have been enough cover for that. Because your Santos, your Ugo Chukwus, and like your Chukwuemekas, they can play, your Conference League games, and then the other guys can play your league games. But again, I guess there are differences in opinions for that. And when you look at your forwards, you got Sterling, Angelo, who's probably going to go on loan again. Armando Broja is looking like he's going to be sold. Nkunku, Mudryk, Jackson, and Gil. Again, there's been rumors about Gil also being, sent out for a loan move, but then it will make no sense. Why would you leave Barcelona to go to Chelsea just to be loaned out again? Because again, I'm sure with like him, Gil, Tosin, these guys came into the team. Even Drewsby Hall, these guys probably came to the team with some sort of like a guarantee that they're going to be getting game time. So this whole thing makes no sense to me. But that's just where we're at right now. But Chalobah, I think he deserves better. Team should just honestly, teams should be on him, trying to sign him. Now, Fabrizio came out with something very interesting today when he said negotiations for Osimhen and PSG is essentially off the table. There's no progression in that, and for this deal, I still don't understand why like Chelsea can't just pay up the money. You like Lukaku, Antonio Conte wants Lukaku, right? So why don't you just pay the money, man? Just give them Lukaku, give them, I don't know, 60 mil. You get your Osimhen and you're done. Because I think if you look at Osimhen's release clause, it wasn't as high. I think it was somewhere within like 85 to like 95 million pounds. And if you could get Lukaku's wages off the books, we already got Malang Sarr off the books already. That's already another, like another 100K just saved. If you could just, get rid of Lukaku's wages, he's on like close to like 325 or something like that. If you could get him sent to Napoli, you bring in your Osimhen, you give him something like a nice low 250. Now the team is competitive. But one of the things I've just started to realize is like when you look at how Maresca has been touted to play, he wants, technical players who can play, that one touch, tight spaces, flair. Does Osimhen really fit that profile? I'm not too sure because Osimhen is, majority played in like a counter-attacking team. So for him to now be doing the whole, tippy-tappy, possession, slow build-up, I don't know if that's going to be effective with his style of play because he's the type of guy who is explosive on the counter, being played in behind, finishing, right? But now you're trying to, have this style of play, which is, just slow, ponderous. Yeah, you want to keep possession, but then how effective will someone like Osimhen be? But, either way, just want to get Lukaku out of here, send him to Napoli. Napoli wants Lukaku. We know Antonio Conte, that's his guy. That's who he's looking at. See if you can get a deal done there because it's looking like PSG might not even be able to offload some of the strikers they've got because there's no way PSG can have Ramos, Muane, and Osimhen on their books. I mean, that's a lot. Like that's a lot of money. It's you can only play one or two of these guys at a time. No one is giving you guys back the money you pay for Muane and Ramos anyway. So them even trying to sign Osimhen didn't make too much sense to me. But this is one of those deals where forget that pay structure you got going on and just get him in. Because you get someone like this in, I've always said like your Ivan Tonys, your Victor Osimhen's. These guys will get you at least 15 goals a year. 15 goals a year can get you an additional 10 to 12 points a season. That's already progression from where we were at. So we'll see if anything develops with this Osimhen deal. I'm kind of happy it didn't go to PSG because frankly, it's like, what's even the point of going to PSG? They're going to win the league every year anyway. Yes, they got Champions League, but they're just going to dominate that league for the most part. And they're still not going to win the Champions League. They're still going to go to the quarters, semis, and then still lose. This would have been a pointless move, but maybe on a financial point for him, this would have made sense. But I just don't see the point of PSG having to chase Osimhen because you already have like two forwards at the club already, and it's just I'm not sure where Osimhen would have fit in. Yes, he would have probably started a lot of games, but I just don't see where he would have been fitting into that team. So again, this is one of those moves where Chelsea needs to be, on it. Like you have to. These are the type of moves you make. You build the team, you make the team stronger, you make the team better, and then we keep moving. And then Chelsea were being linked to a goalkeeper today. I think Jorgensen. Does he play for Villarreal? I believe he plays for Villarreal. And based off just everything I've heard everybody else has said about him, it sounds like a bad idea. I'm not going to watch, his compilations because for me, look, I think last year when we had Petrovic, for me, Petro made a few mistakes, but Petro was a solid, shot stopper. I don't even understand why. Like, if you're going to move on from your Sanchez's and then your Petros, I mean, I don't think it should be linear. It should be going up. You should be trying to get the best of the best. So for me, I just don't. This link just makes no sense. Like, is this someone who's going to take us from fifth to fourth to third to second? It doesn't look likely. But again, I understand they're trying to get players that fit the style of play they're trying to have, and it just sounds like one of those underwhelming signings again. And I just think there's so many better options that we can have instead of just that. You understand what I mean? So again, I really don't know what's going on, man. We need just quality. We need quality. We need better. We just need not meaty players because I just genuinely don't see what Jorgensen could really add besides what ball playing ability. I understand that's the vibe and that's the goal you want to have. But for me, your goalie has to be a goalie. Forget all this ball playing stuff. You want someone keeping the goal, safe. You want someone keeping the ball out of the net. So I just don't understand why it's all like your goalie has to be good with his feet. What I just don't understand it. Just give me a regular goalkeeper who can keep goals out of the net. That's all I need. And as long as he can pass a ball to somebody else, I don't care. Just make it happen. Now, one thing I was hearing today was I think when you look at Liverpool over the last couple of years, I think the biggest thing for Liverpool was that Jurgen Klopp was a genius, right? Klopp was one of those guys that could literally get the best out of the best. He had Jordan Henderson, who, again, let's all be honest, is an okay player, maybe an average player at the maximum. He had him playing a role which was important. Klopp built one of the most frightening teams in Europe, but I think a lot of that came to his coaching. I think a lot of that came to his charisma. I think a lot of it came to his man management. Klopp just instilled some fear into the opposition, right? And I think most Liverpool fans are probably forgetting that is one of the biggest losses. You forget about strengthening adding players to your team, which again, they haven't really done so. But losing Jurgen Klopp was the biggest loss for me. I think they're kind of underestimating how big. Again, let me not say I think they're underestimated. It's just when you hear some of their fans online, it's just they almost forget that, a lot of the players you have in your team are average players. They're not the best. Endo, when Liverpool signed Endo, a lot of their fans didn't even want him. Liverpool were after Caicedo and Lavia. And I understand fans are still salty because they lost those two to Chelsea. But even Endo looked like a proper player because Jurgen Klopp just masked a lot of his weaknesses. Your Szoboszlai, one of the worst signings of last year, not talked about enough. Curtis Jones is an average player, still look good in club system. Harvey Elliott still look good in club system. I mean, the list can go on. I think Liverpool have a good team, but I think sometimes it's overestimated because you don't have Klopp anymore. Like I think when you look at pound for pound, when you go through the first 11, Liverpool's offense is like off the charts. But even so, Darwin Núñez is very wasteful. Luis Diaz is not a goal scorer. Cody Gakpo doesn't really score a lot of goals. I mean, he has good games, but he doesn't really hit double digit, goals and assists on a constant basis. Your best player is Mohamed Salah, and he is that bread and butter, And I know it's just as a team last year, they were so much better because of Klopp. Now that he's gone, I think they're probably going to see what a lot of us have been saying. Your team is not that good. You have some good individuals, but again, even one of the best, players on your team that you guys really rave about, Trent. Like Trent is generational. Trent is such a good, he's a good footballer, but he's still limited, and I just think they just don't understand that when it comes to like defensively, he's one of the worst. Trent is literally one of the worst defenders. Like if you have to be moved from defense to playing midfield just to fit you into the team, you are a defender. You're supposed to defend first. But I don't understand why it's almost like that's being ignored. He is not a good defender, But again, Klopp still created that style of playing a system where, Trent's, strengths are just utilized to the max. The likes of Firmino ate from that. Your Mane's ate from that. Salah's been eaten from that. But now Klopp is gone. That's, again, I know a lot of the fundamentals might stay there, but that's a big, big loss. You have a new guy in, and we have no idea how he's going to play. We have no idea if he's going to even be able to replicate a quarter of what Klopp was able to just bring to that team. The culture Klopp created was just contagious, and for years he competed with your Peps, and I just think there's been an overestimation on the quality they actually have. And next season, I don't think they're guaranteed to be, third or fourth. I think third, fourth, fifth is going to be between, your Aston Villas, who have been strengthening their team massively. They've got Ian Matson, Amadou Onana. Who else did they bring in? They got two guys from Juventus. They've really strengthened their team. They lost Diaby, but guess what? They're trying to just add more. They still have the Oli Watkins, and they still have Unai Emery. So I think Aston Villa, Spurs, even to an extent, Man United, because Man United right now, they're looking like they're making moves. But my only thing with United is they still have Ten Hag. And as much quality as they can bring into that team, I just believe the way he's going to set them up, it's just not going to be the best. But again, I'm willing to be proven wrong. But I think Liverpool fans just overestimate their squad a bit. Like if Conor Gallagher had a much better season than Szoboszlai, that's saying a lot. And we don't even rate Conor. So him having a much better season than Szoboszlai, who, again, to be fair, before he came to Liverpool last year, whatever the reasons for his poor season, he was like one of the best midfielders in the German Bundesliga. But I don't know, man. I just think Liverpool fans gotta bring it down a bit. I understand you're still not happy that you lost your Lavias and Caicedos. And another thing is the conversation about who had the better project came up on a stream I was watching, and I think the Liverpool fan said Liverpool still has a much better, or like an attractive, what you call it, project at their club. And I'm just trying to think, like, if you've looked at the last few transfer windows, like the players they've wanted to sign, right? Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo, Jude Bellingham. Who else? Just to name a few. I think they probably were also interested in Lenny Yoro, and he never went there. Just you keep saying that the reason why Chelsea are attracting players is because they're paying more money. But then if you look at how much a lot of these guys are getting paid, it's not close to how much you pay some of your main players like your Gravenbergs. And I just don't understand it. Like, I think when you just look at the core of that team, your Salahs, Van Dijk, Allison, again, goalkeepers don't really count because they get played to their damn near 40. But Van Dijk is still one of the best defenders. But again, slowly but surely, he's going to be phased out. Who's the next core that's coming up? When you look at our team, as meaty as we've been, as awful as we've been, as terrible as we've been in the last 2 years, these guys are still yet to hit that point where, they hit, they hit the peak, they get a lot better. So I just think when you just look at the project, you look at what the goal is, what the vision is. Again, the vision right now, because we're just signing random young players, it just looks terrible because the assembly doesn't really match what the goal is being trying to be gotten. But again, we're trying to build a team where in a few years, that we have some good players coming through. And frankly, look, I don't want to wait a few years. I want to win now. But if we're just going to look at long term, I think we just have better quality coming up than you do. And again, I think Klopp really masked a lot of the weaknesses in that team, and I don't believe they understand. But we'll see how this new season is. If this season comes up and Liverpool still just do what they do, then I'm going to have to respect it and say, you know what? Maybe they're just that good. I just don't think so, because I think Klopp has just always shown us like he's always had something else to add to this team. He's always been the 12th man, and the fans have been the 13th man. And now that you've taken him out, I know the fans are still going to be behind the team, but I just think his impact is so like valuable, and it's just he just had that big effect onto that team that I think they're just kind of forgetting. So we'll see how that goes. But people, we're gonna just wrap it up here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Just let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you guys again in the next video. Peace.